Back with game 2 of Spanish Eagles, and I'm still playing Albuera. I decided to give this another go now that I've got a sort of single rule set in my head and some ideas on how to play. And it's really interesting how the game can turn out very differently with, firstly, not just a different plan, but just with the way the activations pan out. You know, if the French get some good early activations and then, you know, the Allies fail a roll and the French fail a roll and the turn ends and the French get to go again, that can be really advantageous for them. So we've hit this position here. We're partway through the 11 o'clock turn, and you can see that Wöhler's made it across this. They discovered this ford early and have pushed some grenadiers up onto this hill. His infantry division just made an attack actually into Albuera, which is only quite weakly held, but was repulsed. And so I had to fall back. But up here, Gerard has pushed forward and taken this hill, and that's quite a commanding position with the gullies all round it. That's going to be hard to dislodge him from. But he's not got a lot of support up there at the moment. He could be flanked by these Spaniards. He could just be fired at if the British can move some artillery up just to keep blinking away at him. And equally, he's going to find it difficult to assault off this hill because there are gullies in front of him. So he's going to face the problems of that if he tries to push forward further. The French have pushed their artillery commander Ruti round here into the open with lots of artillery, and they've just shot up Desires up here, who took some hits on his infantry, or they took 2 hits, so he lost a hit on his infantry and he put the other hit on his artillery and lost that. And actually I should make a roll for Desires to see if he's killed by that fire, and he is not. Has anyone else taken casualties? Girard didn't take any, Lumley didn't take any, being pushed back. No one else has taken casualties. So now we've got to try and find a response from the Allies. And the Spaniards, well, actually, Cole, you can see over here, Cole's still in his starting position. It's 11 o'clock and he hasn't even had an activation yet. The Allies have really struggled for activations. So we may have a go but we may have a go with Blake just to get the Spaniards on the board and get things moving. And we've got some ideas down here, so let's give that a go. Let's give Blake a roll. He's got a 6. That's terrible. And that is even worse. That is an absolute disaster for the Allies, because that is the end of the 11 o'clock turn. They're not going to get to do anything for this whole hour. They've just been, you know, forced back off this hill. They're being taken by surprise left, right and centre, and they're doing nothing about it. So 11 a.m. has ended, and they had some real strong opportunities there if they could have got an activation, and it's all gone wrong for them. That's a real shame for the Allies, because they've got some cavalry down here which could have dropped into here and threatened a charge down the road into the flank of Godinot had they got an activation. Had they just been able to get Castaños on the board, he could have brought all his cavalry to bear, and there's nothing the French could have done to get anything in the way, and so that would have put a lot of pressure on them because there's not enough space to turn round. So where's Godinot going to go? Is he going to move forward? That it would have given them all kinds of problems as to how to protect his flank, unless they activate Breach and bring him round. But you know, it would have presented threats. And as it now, the Allies are really on the back foot with another French activation looking like it's going to start the next turn. So yeah, let's set this up. Okay, so the 12 o'clock turn came and went. The Allies really aren't getting their act together at all. Look at this, Cole hasn't even moved. The King's German Legion haven't moved. The British haven't moved. I don't know if they've had an activation. Maybe Lumley's done something. That's about it. Blake got 1 activation, had to pull Desires back, who'd been hit again with more artillery, pulled back off this mountain where he was just in the firing line, and this turn did at least manage to do some repair the damage out of the firing line. Blake actually tried a counterattack from in here into Godino, but was repulsed, and both him and Larrazabal had to pull back. And then boom, end of turn again. The French have just got a bit too much momentum. The Spanish and British just cannot get any activations going. The only plus side for them was that also the French, they didn't get to move Gazan, they didn't get to activate Verla. Everything is kind of messy at the moment, with neither side really managing to take the initiative, seize the initiative in any way. But the French just looking in a far stronger and more sort of compact position, and the Allies' position that it just looks weak. And as you can see, none of the Spanish cavalry is even on the board. It's not in the right place. This isn't looking very good, but it is, again, it's a really captivating and interesting portrayal of the chaos and individual actions unfolding as part of a bigger picture in a Napoleonic battle. There's something really good about it. The 1 o'clock turn here at Albuera has just passed. The Allies finally found their mojo, and well, they found their mojo. They managed to activate most of their army. In fact, all of their army. I think you can see the activated orders still on here, because I haven't made the rolls to recover, so I haven't quite finished the 1 PM turn. But you can see that everything's now active and in play. Blake pulled most of his infantry together. In fact, I think he combined all his 3 infantry divisions, Larrazabal here, Desaias and Balastros, into an attack on this hill on Godino with some supporting cavalry. Didn't make any impact at all, and fell back in to reorganise into these positions here. They could actually have, they didn't even make the roll to stand. Autumn just decided to withdraw because they didn't want to be in range of nasty looking counterattacks up here from this artillery with a lot of cavalry in here, and Godino perhaps falling on them on the flank or whatever. That all looked really unpleasant, with Gazan arriving over there as well. So yeah, they've fallen back now to this position, and there's kind of a split now between the British Anglo-Portuguese position here and the Spanish position here, just in this area. So the Allies split into 2 separate armies. Whether the French can capitalise on that in any way, I don't know. They have slight problems of their own in that Gazan, while he's moved up, he still feels somewhat out of the battle, given that the French are heavily engaged in this area. Over on the Allied left, Cole annihilated the grenadiers that were holding this hill. His infantry came forward and chewed those up and spat them out. They are gone. And Verla, who was back here, was facing a difficult decision, because if he advanced, then he's right in the firing line of Cole, but if he doesn't, his opportunity maybe to get back across this ford is going to be minimal if he gets pushed back into this area. So he advanced but didn't try attacking Cole's hilltop position. That just looked too daunting for him, and he's perhaps going to withdraw back across the ford and shore up the French right here, and hope that this was almost a diversionary move, and hope that now the French in here can do the bulk of the damage in undermining the Allied position. So we'll see what happens. Girard looks fairly comfortable on his hill and has moved his artillery up to cover his flank. He's got some cavalry, but it's mainly the fact that he's on a hilltop with his gullies as protection make it very risky to attack into him. and so the French, I think, now might look to the rest of their force to beat up on the Spanish, if they can get that organised, or alternatively hold off the Spanish and move in and try and attack through the British. Or they've got threats to come down and try and occupy this space and try and grab Albuera. So yeah, it's quite a dynamic position, but really good one, fun. 3 p.m. here at Albuera in Spanish Eagles, and you can see all these squall markers across the map here, which the French are going to be able to take advantage of. They're hoping to be able to launch attacks out of these squalls into the Anglo-Portuguese positions. At 2 o'clock we had a squall down over here which wasn't really affecting play. Saul for once didn't get an activation straight off the bat, and Blake was able to try and organise an attack into the French. It didn't get anywhere, and he again had to pull back. Took some casualties from artillery fire. You can see his own Ballastros division is no longer a long infantry counter, it's now just reduced down to its final C step. Yeah, that wasn't very good. Saul got most of his forces activated. The British again pretty much failed to get an activation, and with the French swinging around this way, stuff like this down here, you know, is almost pointing in the wrong direction. Lumley doesn't matter because he's cavalry, but these guys' flank is here, and if the French are able to swing some cavalry down into this area, they might catch these divisional lights and artillery on the flank if the British cannot activate and start getting their forces shifted round in a more sensible direction. Similarly, Stuart seems to be going, sort of pointing the wrong way. He's pointed towards Albuera, and the threat's more from this direction. Gazan slid in here. Girard's got his artillery with him. The French are organising, getting ready for a big range of attacks, because Girard's got his infantry, his artillery and bronze cavalry with him. Gazan's in here with the artillery commander and his infantry division. Godinot, his artillery is still somewhere else. It's I've lost it. I don't even know where it is. Oh, it must be down. It must be in here somewhere. No, it's not. Okay, not sure where Godinot's artillery is. But oh no, it's under this squall marker. It looks like a long infantry counter, but it's under there. That's where it is. So he hasn't managed to get all the elements together for a sort of combined arms attack, but he will, because he'll slide some cavalry in and his artillery in here, and that'll all be very dangerous. So the Allies are kind of reaching a critical point where they have to get some activations if they are to survive what could be some quite fearsome attacks coming in the next hour or two.
Well, I got to 4 p.m. and rolled the dice to see whether the rain started, and would you believe it, that's what we got. And the steady rain started again, which is going to put pretty much an end to proceedings, I think. But we're, such a different position here, because the French consolidated heavily. They've got infantry division here with their artillery and their artillery commander right on the edge of Albuera. Really strong force here with their cavalry under Braun. Girard's infantry undamaged with all his artillery up on this hill. A really commanding position. Godinot's just got in here with Briche, his artillery but behind him because it can't make it across this gully, but he's got a really strong position. French have got such a strong position through these hills. Artillery here, La Tour Maubourg guarding the flank. The Spanish at the end of the 3 p.m. turn late on attempted to start surrounding La Tour Maubourg here with the hope of caving in this sort of flank position, but it was likely that these attacks from the French here were going to be just overwhelming. Girard just blasted Alton and some British troops back off this. It was Godinot here who attacked into here and just blasted the British back off this position. Yeah, really, really difficult situation for the Allies here. British struggling to get any activations all game. I don't think Beresford made a single roll to successfully get an activation. Not a single roll in the entire game. The only thing that allowed the British to activate at all was the fact that if Beresford fails a roll, they can try with Stuart straight away. So they've got essentially 2 attempts with 3s, and Stuart was the only one providing any effective command at all, and even then not very often. Blake also similarly had a more effective time, but his attacks were useless. Every time he tried to attack, his troops caused no losses at all and then ran away. So while he was effective in terms of mobilising his troops, once he did, they weren't very good at getting the job done. The British had the opposite problem. Their troops 5 morale here. Cole's got a 6 morale. Can't actually fail a morale check at full strength, but they couldn't get them into the battle. Just couldn't get any activations for them at all. And the French just kept rolling forward methodically, building their attacks, moving their artillery up, combining it with their cavalry, getting the combined arms bonuses. And when they pushed up onto this hill, I think, or they made one attack, and they caused 5 casualties. It was horrible for the Allies, who got shunted back in disarray. I think it was when they attacked this position here, but yeah, it was all really, really messy. But now with the rain starting again, that means that you can't do anything you can't do anything with infantry or artillery costing 2 movement points, and that would mean that anything on the wrong side of a gully can't do anything trying to get up a hill into here or here couldn't do anything. So they could attack with Godineau down here into Lumley and Alton, but I think once the rain starts, that that really does signify the end of play, really. Certainly in terms of trying to do anything effective, it gets very difficult. So we've got this position here with a very, very strong central French force, having divided the Spanish and Anglo-Portuguese armies, and now just about ready to push their way through the British, when the weather forces them to kind of hunker down and stop attacking. Quite how they'd unpick this situation, I don't know, but it would probably be certainly the Spanish would be having to withdraw away, and the British are probably, well, do they tough it out and hold the town and let the French withdraw into the hills? I don't know what happens. I don't know what the denouement is from this situation, but it was certainly, you'd have to call it a draw, but only because the weather came now. I think if the rain had held off for 2 more turns, you'd be calling it easily a French victory. They're in a much stronger position, and they've got much more done, and they've inflicted much more damage. But they've been undone by the weather.